Hey, how's it going, Gearheads? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Vinny from Division 7 Motorsports, and in today's video, I'll be giving you guys an update and sharing some cool stuff about my LT1 Corvette barn find. As you guys know, I've been putting in some work on this Corvette here every single week for about 3 months, and we've gotten really far on the project, and I'm really proud of that. I've had some great moments, and then I've had some pretty scary moments.
That be the most messed up freeze plug I've ever seen.
Turn it off!
Oh shit, okay, we got problems.
Well, we got the car to start when we wanted to, and we changed all the parts that we needed to get this car running. But today I want to share the progress and some really cool, unique features that came on this factory street legal race car. Yeah, race car. I know what you guys are thinking, but trust me, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's go inside the interior. Let's go. Alright, the first thing I want to skew you guys' attention to is not the missing driver's seat that's supposed to be underneath me, but this spec plate right here next to me in the console. Alrighty guys, this is the spec plate that I was referring to in the console. It tells you everything that you need to know, like the horsepower rating, the torque, you got your cubic inches here for your engine, and then you got your compression ratio right here next to you. But let me be the one to tell you, this plate here will come in handy for that pesky backseat driver you got next to you that wants to tell you that they'll gap you in their Honda Civic hatchback. All you gotta do, point to the plate, instant mental destruction. But on a serious note, let's talk about why I brought up this plate. I wanted to share this with you guys because when I first went to go buy the car, I was very intrigued to find out that this car came with 11:1 compression ratio from the factory, and that's a pretty high compression rating. Now, I know what you guys are thinking, 370 horsepower isn't a lot for today's standards. Like the newer muscle cars usually come out with 420 to 450 horsepower, so 370 is still kind of low. But on the upside, I've also heard rumors that this engine outputs way more horsepower than what's actually stated here on this plate. I've heard numbers like 410 to 408 horsepower, and numbers as high as 420 horsepower. So I really won't know how much horsepower this engine makes in this car until I really dyno it. Hopefully we'll get down to a place in time where I can actually do that, because that'd be really cool. I've never done one of those tests before, and I think that'd be really neat to try it on an old car like this. But enough jibber jabber about numbers. We all want to talk about what's under the hood. So let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room, the race car engine. And if you guys are enjoying today's video, make sure to hit that like button. Leave a comment down below of what you think of today's video. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe for more hot rodding content. I always post a video every Saturday for you guys in the morning, so there's always going to be content waiting for you there on the weekend. With that said, guys, thanks for your support, and let's get back to the video. So for our most avid car enthusiasts, you guys know this as a regular old 350. Well, you're wrong. This LT1 350 that's sitting in front of us is actually very special, and I'll tell you why. This LT1 engine actually has an RPM redline limit of 7,000, and that's on the tack up there. That's not very common for a 50-year-old car to have such a high RPM redline. Even a 7,000 RPM redline today is pretty decent. But let's go back to this engine. What's included on it? This engine was equipped with hardened steel internals like piston rods, crankshaft, cam. Everything was hardened steel in this engine, which was real great for a high revving engine because everything gets hot and you don't want to get warping and all this other stuff. So that's one thing that you don't have to worry about. The other thing that they added in there was ported heads. These are actually commonly referred to as 186 heads. So the only thing special about these is that they have a little bit bigger intake and exhaust ports, which adds a good amount of horsepower and flow to this engine. And everybody knows a good breathing engine is a good running engine. Another cool thing that was added on this car is this high-rise aluminum intake manifold. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. It's not a traditional high-rise that you'd normally see, but it's an elevated intake manifold, which also helps the flow out because this thing likes to suck in a lot of air. Hence the thousands of vacuum lines that are going to haunt me in videos down the line. But anyways, another real neat performance modification they did to this car was adding an oil pan with a windage tray in it, which just allows the oil to stay level every time you go in a corner and you're taking it fast. Because when you move the car in a corner at an angle, the oil begins to slant to one side and the engine could starve for oil at that second. So the windage trays allow the oil to move oppositely with the motion of what you're going to, so it keeps the oil at a level state. That's actually some pretty cool technology, which I don't even know if they practice that in today's cars. So why am I raving about this engine? From what I just told you right now, it's not a real common thing for a factory car to come off the block with all these cool parts already put on it. Which actually, us hot rod guys already go ahead and put all the money into our cars to get parts like these on our small blocks or big blocks, to increase the horsepower. So it's actually really neat that we don't have to really touch too much on this engine to have a little bit of fun. And that actually goes back to the whole discussion about that plate. Some of you car guys already know that back in the late 60s and the early 70s, there were some racing competitions going on between the different car brands like Ford, Dodge, and Chevy. And they were producing cars like the Boss 429, Boss 302, and in order for them to be entered in the race, they actually had to be sold to the public. They actually did not give true numbers out to the public for the actual horsepower ratings that they outputted on the engine. Now, the reason for this, I really don't know. A lot of rumors have said that it maybe has something to do with insurance or whatever it is. I really don't know what it is. But it seems to me that this engine happens to be one of those special cases where they say it's 370, but it's actually a little bit more than that. And it wouldn't actually surprise me because of all the parts that I've already shared with you that come stock on this engine already. So now that you know all the cool stuff about this engine, let's talk about why Corvette guys like this car so much. Because it does actually make a difference between years, between the 1970 LT1 and the 1971 LT1. After 1970 depreciates in the number of horsepower, and that's because of the smog and EPA regulations that they had to put on these engines. But the really nice thing about this 1970 LT1 motor is that there was only one thing that was done to the emissions on this car, which was a smog pump. All you had to do is remove the exhaust manifold off the engine, replace it with something like these long side pipes I got sticking out the car, and then just remove the smog pump from the front of the engine, plug the vacuum lines, and now you have no smog stuff. Now, why would one want to do that? Well, actually removing the smog pump from the car actually increases a little bit of horsepower, but also keeps another thing from breaking on the car because there's so many different things like the vacuum lines and electrical that I have to worry about. So maybe one day I'll turn it back to original and put that pump back on. But there is a little bit of an issue there when it comes to finding parts for this car. Now that I've shared all that cool information with you guys, I'm sure you're wondering, why haven't I seen that many of these Corvettes out there? And unfortunately that has to do with the fact that they only produced 1,200 of these cars in 1970. So you don't really see these guys driving around too often. They're usually hiding in people's garages, or they're underneath tarps, or sitting in people's backyards for 20 years. But that's why I'm here today, to share with you my project so that I can get you guys out in the garage and get your cars out in the street, because as you guys know, things are changing. People are starting to go to electric cars, but there's still a big community out there for hot rod guys who love combustion engines and love hearing those V8s, V6 running up and down the street and burning up all the back roads in town. I know you guys are still out there, so make sure you get out there and get in the garage and out there on the streets. Because that's all I'm trying to do, guys, is to motivate you guys to get in the garage and get working. But enough about this engine. Let's talk about how this car rides, because yeah, you can have a fast motor and have a loud sounding engine sitting here thumping at you, but how does it ride? I mean, you gotta have a good performing car, right? So let's talk about the suspension they put on this thing, because I think you guys are gonna find it real interesting. Most of us know that early C3 Corvettes have independent front and rear suspension, but on this C3 Corvette, since it has the LT1 package, it has coilovers. Now I know what you boys are thinking. These aren't your eBay coilovers. These coilovers were really ahead of their time, just like the trailing arm in the back. It was almost like it was built for like a live axle. And this horizontal leaf spring, what is that all about? I don't know, but hey, I've been told that these cars handle like a dream, and there's nothing else like driving a Corvette. Too bad I haven't been able to have the chance yet to rip this down the street. But once I do, I'll make sure to get it on video and make sure to really tell you guys how it feels. But it's a known fact by the car community that Corvettes are known for their handling and their awesome suspension setup. So, thought I'd break it down for you and kind of show you what it's all about. So now that we went over all the essentials on this car that came with this factory package, can we call it a race car? Okay, probably not, but was it built like one? Absolutely. At this time, 1970, this was the baddest ride out there. You can argue that you could say big blocks are the biggest, baddest thing out there, the 454s. The real Corvette guys know that with a small block like this, it would kill any big block at the light back in the day. Weight distribution is everything. Light engine, light car, equals a fun day. Now, for my favorite part about this car. Do you guys want to see what kind of carburetor Chevy put on this car from factory? Let me show you. Let's get this guy off right here. This is the biggest peekaboo of car history right here. Let's just take the air cleaner off here. What is that? That, my friends, is more smiles per gallon. That is a double pumper 780 CFM Holley carburetor. And this bad boy is the reason why I'm gonna go broke buying gas. Because, like we said before, it's running 11-to-1 compression ratio, so that means I have to run high octane. So I got about like 114 octane in this thing right now with lead additive, or 110 octane, I can't remember exactly. I know it's kind of important, but we got all the right stuff to run this puppy. But man, does she eat fuel like no one else's business. But hey, you gotta feed the monster, am I right? Alrighty, gearheads, well that's gonna wrap up today's video. I hope you learned a thing or two on the show today. Maybe I kinda got you guys into Corvettes, or maybe just this one, who knows. But I hope you guys are getting out there and driving your cars and enjoying that good weather outside, because that's what these things are made for, guys. And that is irreplaceable by any other car out there on the market. You cannot match the ride that's in this car. Guys, if you liked today's video, please remember to leave a like, give a comment down below what you thought of today's video. And again, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe for more hot rodding content. I'm always doing stuff on here. Go ahead and check out the build so you guys get updated. You can see all the cool stuff that I had to do this car to get it fired up. But till next week, guys, have a good weekend. Take out those cars. And if you guys have any cool videos, you guys driving your cars, send them down to the Instagram down below. I love to see it. Send your guys' projects. Maybe I'll feature it at the end of the show. I don't know. Maybe I'll do something new. Again, thank you guys for supporting me on this journey. Can't thank you guys enough. And I'll see you guys next week. Peace out. But to me, it's a race car.